the other day I was having a conversation with this young girl. She texted me, she contacted me to question. She wanted to make me like a kind of interview. She was doing this thesis for the university, master thesis, I think, or PhD. Don't recall exactly. Some kind of academic work, and she's focusing on energy transition. And so she contacted me, and you obviously you're gonna ask, why did she contact you? Because I work in hydrocarbon industry, to be more specific, in natural gas industry. And so while I was talking to her, I realized that, I mean, they have a lot of arguments, people who want to phase out in very short term the hydrocarbons. They have their arguments. For example, one of the arguments they use, this wasn't told, she didn't tell me this, because she was more in the mood. She was doing her academic work, so she was doing this interview and she was taking notes and not talking so much. I was doing the talking, right? But I realized when I've talked to some of these people, I think they are like, there are a lot of similar groups like this, activists. Sometimes they do some things that I disapprove, like for example destroying art and that kind of stuff. But the argument I put forward to them every time, and I could see in her face that she was kind of starting doubting herself a little bit. If she sees this video, I'm sorry, that's what I really think. If not, please let me know and I correct it. But I could really see in her face, I don't know, maybe she was just open-minded because she was trying to absorb more than to communicate. Maybe that's the reason. But the biggest flaw in their arguments, there are a lot of good arguments they put out. I mean, carbon dioxide is no hoax. It is no hoax. It is proven scientifically that the atmospheres, the more carbon dioxide you have on the atmosphere, the more capacity of your atmosphere to retain the heat from the sun, the more it has this capacity, right? I mean, Carl Sagan was talking about this and he gave great examples. And believe me, this is no hoax, right? You can then argue about carbon tax. That's a whole different shenanigans, whole different story. Politics is a whole different story, right? But scientifically, it's no hoax. Of course, we know that it's only a slight increase of this gas in the atmosphere, which is what's happening. A very, very slight increase. I mean, if in percentual points, it's like 0.0 something. So it's about this. But apparently, it is enough to cause change. And I do think, even if carbon dioxide is not a hoax, even, let's suppose this, even if it is a hoax, I don't think we should be using fossil fuels the way we do, like burning them like there's no tomorrow, right? Those are finite resources. Those took millions of years to form. So, and we are putting our whole civilization on top of them, basically. But they have good arguments. Of course, this is one of them. Carbon dioxide, other kinds of pollution associated with exploration, like destruction of habitats, hazards, ecosystem hazards, for example, like remember the Gulf of Mexico, all these kinds of things that are associated with the activity. But when I asked them, okay, if we phase out fossil fuels tomorrow, how will we work? How will society work? And she asked me, what do you mean? You have other sources of energy? And I say, okay, you have, but. So I showed her a graphic in real time, the example of Portugal, of Portuguese consumption in real time. And I told her, as you can see, right now, most of the energy we are consuming are indeed coming from renewables. The biggest share at that moment was wind. The second biggest share was the dams, the water from the dams, hydroelectric. And then you had a little bit of biomass. We have no coal. And then you had not too much, but some natural gas. This map only concerns the production of electricity. And I told her, do you see, it looks good, right? We are using most renewables and hydroelectric and etc. But this tiny portion of natural gas that we were using at that time, for example, the day of today was more. That was a very favorable day for renewables. Still, little as it is, it's still essential to the balance of the grid. You need some sort of energy which is just sitting there and available to put on the grid as you want, when you want, as much as you want, as much as you need in this case. Yeah, and that's the part these organizations, climate organizations, fail to understand, because I've spoken, I tried to speak on my podcast. I've invited them, this particular organization called Climacium, to talk about this, and I put forward this question, and I suspect what the answer is, but it never comes up. Let me try to explain and to be more or less clear the best I can. Is this: it really is no alternative to fossil fuels right now. The best you can do, and of course this is just my opinion, please feel free to destroy it on the comments. The best we can do is to reduce the use of fossil fuels. This we can do. We can use, I mean, we don't need to have every person owning an automobile burning diesel and gasoline. I mean, that can be really reduced, realistically reduced within the system we have. It's just a matter of policy. It's just a matter of political will. You provide a grid, a good public grid of public transportation. It doesn't matter if it's profitable or not. It just matters that it has to work. It has to be put in service of the people and therefore the economy, because the people are the economy. At least the economy that we depend on, not the financial stuff. So you put an efficient public transportation grid no matter the cost, because you always get the return. Right? If you don't have to, of course, other theories say that this would be a disaster for the economy. You know, like this theory that says if everyone used a bicycle instead of a car, economy would crash or something like this, because the whole industry associated with the consumptions of car and car parts and fuels and all this would go away, or it would be reduced greatly, and this would cause harm. Okay, yeah, we are getting there. Right? We are getting there. So what we need, in my opinion, we can never phase completely out, at least at the state of technology we have now. We cannot phase completely fossil fuels, because we don't use them just to burn. I mean, this is almost common sense by now, right? We don't use them just to burn. We use them to manufacture a bunch of stuff that we need in our lives. So what do we do? What do we do? We actually need, the answer that never comes is we need to change. We need to revolution, a really radical revolution in the way we live. My perspective is that this revolution would go through, for example, would entail something like people don't have to work that much. People don't have to work 8 hours, 12 hours, I don't know how many hours a day some people work. It's madness. It's madness. Because productivity due to technology has risen so much. I don't know how many-fold. Many-fold. Just imagine from the first revolution applied to agriculture, for example, technological revolution, the mechanical revolution, and then the way it extended, like you reduce the manpower on the economy by 100, 1,000-fold or something. Big numbers, right? So what are, if this productivity, and we produce a lot more than we need, we just keep doing it for the sake of this economic system. It's madness. And then we can't produce very good things because they will last and then people won't buy anymore, so we have to produce things that are phased out very quickly, so we buy more and the machine keeps going, and this makes no sense, right? So if you are a climate orientated person, you realize this is wrong. Okay, but so we can have a lot of the same lifestyle, but with much less work and with much less consumption, and still live with every comfort we have nowadays. This is my opinion, okay? I mean, I do not have a chart with figures here to back up my claims, but I've been reading a lot about this for years now, and I work in this energy industry. I see the use of, for example, I gave the example of natural gas in the production of electricity. And these guys, I say this because a lot of these organizations, if they could, they would shut these places down, right? They would shut hydrocarbons from one day to another. It would be a complete disaster. You would have to say goodbye. You would have to say goodbye to your, I mean, everyday way of life, even the refrigerator. Because imagine, okay, you are all happy, you're producing 100% energy from the sun and the wind, and then the sun goes down for some hours at least, right? Sun goes down, does every day, and the wind stops. What do you do to sustain all the households and the industry needed for all the functions and all the things that we use, right? But of course, according to my layman theory, you can reduce this by a great length. But then what would that cause? I mean, that would be a big revolution, right? Democratize the gains of the productivity. Do not concentrate them in very little hands. We're talking Marx now, heavy duty. So, I don't know. Of course, like every day when I do these car videos, I'm rambling. I don't know if you get my point. I don't even know. Sometimes I go back and listen to myself and say, what the fuck am I talking about? But, so yeah. It is, I do feel that it is possible to reduce and to revolutionize society without going to the Stone Age, right? So yeah, if you phase out hydrocarbons from one day to another without presenting a solution, a good one, similar to the hydrocarbons. Remember this: a pack of energy, usable whenever you need it. It can be stationary there for as long as you need it, until you need it. The only kind of energy I know which has this characteristic is hydrocarbons. You can carry a jerry can full of gasoline, well tight closed, and it lasts long time, and it's stable. It doesn't need any special storage facilities. It's just there sitting on the jerry can for whenever you need it, wherever you need it. You see, no other source of energy supplies this. That's what I had to say for today. See you on the next one.